Welcome to Lesson 11. We are going to continue reading Mary Anning today. I hope you are as excited as I am. Remember, I am Miss Wagers. I will be your teacher for the day, and we are really going to get ourselves going with this very quickly, so make sure that you are comfortable and situated, that you are focused, that you have everything you need, you can hear me well, you're sitting up straight, so that way you can get your best education today. So, what are we learning? Our learning intentions. Well, let's see. We're learning to use details and examples in the text so that way we can draw inferences from the text. So we got to use the text evidence. That way we can make an inference. We know we are successful when we can use text evidence to support answers to questions about the text and then draw inferences based on our text evidence. Boom, boom. So let's talk foundational skills. Today we're focusing on the suffixes OR and ER. And these suffixes mean a person who. So in this, let's think about the base words. So on your own, you could underline the base, write down these words and underline the base word, but we will just talk about them and I will get my handy dandy pointer going. So the base word for sailor is going to be sail. So a sailor is a person who sails. A pitcher, let's see, the base word there would have to be pitch. And so a pitcher is someone who pitches. And then a learner, the base word is learn. So a learner is a person who learns. And a counselor, okay, my base word is counsel. So you guessed it, a counselor is a person who counsels. Nice job. So we will continue on. On your own, you can write down these words or work on this with the circling the base word. Oh my gosh, sorry guys, I'm saying this totally wrong. You're going to underline the base word and circle the suffix. I'll get it right. And then you complete the definition of the word. So just like we did before when we said a counselor is a person who counsels, when you do driver, you're going to say a person who. Okay, so I will let you finish that on your own. Vocabulary for today, we have ancient. I hope no one's calling me ancient because I'm not. Ancient means very old. I say I am not old. Don't call me old. Don't call me ancient. All right, so let's get right into our reading. Okay, so remember that we are reading about Mary Anning, and she has really enjoyed looking for fossils. So when Henry de la Beche moved into town, people said to Mary, "You should meet Henry. He's very curious, just like you, and he also loves rocks and fossils." After they met, Henry and Mary spent hours together talking about science. Henry's clothes were more expensive than Mary's. He didn't have to work for a living and sell fossils the way Mary did. Henry and Mary were very different, but they didn't care. They were too busy becoming good friends and sharing ideas with each other. Later, Henry helped Mary out when her family ran into trouble. Selling fossils was hard work, and sometimes the people who had money to buy curios weren't interested in Mary's things. Henry came up with a plan to help Mary make money. First, he made watercolor drawings of Mary's creatures as they would have looked in ancient times, when they were alive. His drawings were so real-looking that Mary felt as if she could step into the world that he had created. Henry took his drawings and arranged to have copies made. Other people liked the drawings as much as Mary did. The money that came from selling the copies was given to Mary and her family. And something else good happened. People wanted to know more about the creatures in the drawings, and Mary's name was mentioned because she knew these animals from the inside out. Mary's good friend Henry had helped her in ways that she didn't expect. So let's stop and think about what we've read so far. What details show how Henry helped Mary and her discoveries become better known? And then what can we infer about Henry? So that means, like, what do you think about Henry? So let's first do the first part of this question. What details show how Henry helped Mary and her discoveries become more well known? Well, right here I see in the text it says Henry took his drawings and arranged to have copies made. Other people liked the drawings as much as Mary did. The money that came from selling the copies was given to Mary and her family. Oh, right here. People wanted to know more about the creatures in the drawings, and Mary's name was mentioned because she knew these animals from the inside out. So when I'm stopping and thinking about this, and we can even go back to the last slide, remember Henry helps Mary by creating drawings. He made a watercolor drawing of Mary's creatures. And then he sold them to other people and they really liked them and they started asking questions about them. So how does Henry help Mary make her discoveries better known? Well, he made pictures of them as if how they would have looked in real life. And the picture on this page supports that. And then what can we infer about Henry? So what do we think about Henry based on his actions? So it says that he decided like Mary and her family are having a hard time. They don't have a lot of money. Their cash flow is, a little low and they're needing some help. So Henry decides to say, hey, Mary, I get that you're having troubles with money right now. I have a skill. I can draw. I'll make these pictures of the fossils and you can sell them and make money off of them. And you get to keep the money for you and your family. So what do you think about a person who basically is donating their skills so other people can make money? I would definitely think that Henry is very generous. Okay, so I might infer that Henry is a very generous person because he is making these drawings for Mary so that way she can sell them to support her family. Even before Henry helped her, Mary had made some very important discoveries. One day, as she stood by the cliffs, Mary spotted something new. It looked like a bone, maybe a skull. Was it another ichthyosaur? Mary scraped away the rock and found a creature she'd never seen before. It had a long neck, a tiny round head, and legs that were shaped like paddles. The creature looked so odd that some people thought it was made up and not real. Its skeleton, they said, must have been put together using the bones of a sea snake and an ichthyosaur. Man, so she's finding something. People aren't even believing it. Mary was furious when she heard what people were saying about the skeleton she had discovered. She knew fossils, and she knew what she had found. But some people weren't convinced until a group of scientists had spoken out. The scientists had found parts of creatures that looked the same as the skeleton Mary had found. Those creatures were called plesiosaurs. The scientists knew fossils and they knew what they had found. Everyone believed them when they said Mary's plesiosaur was real and not made up. That's kind of annoying. Mary found something and no one would believe her, but when the scientists said, yeah, we found that too, then they're like, oh, okay, it must be true. This time when people asked, who found this creature? Mary's name was mentioned. She was becoming famous for the fossils she had found. Scientists sent letters to her. They asked her questions about her discoveries, and then they waited eagerly for Mary to write back to them. Now, when Mary hurried through town, visitors stopped and stared. They said to each other, there goes the woman who found all those strange creatures. What do you think she's going to find next? So now they're getting kind of interested in Mary. And another stop and think question. We just have a picture on this page. Based on the illustration, what inferences can we make about Mary's next discovery? What do you think? I'm going to even go back one page. It says, what do you think she is going to find next? That's what the people are wondering. And then we get this picture. What do you think she'll find next? I mean, we're looking at a picture of a skeleton of some sort, so it would be my guess that she's going to find some sort of another creature. It looks like it's got a long head and then really long arms. So I wonder what kind of creature maybe has this long head and long arms. Okay, we'll have to think more about that. So let's talk more about inferences. Okay. Authors provide us enough details and examples for readers to understand the ideas that are inferred or gathered from what is known but not stated directly. Okay. So when we're thinking about an inference, the author is going to give us some ideas, but they're not going to tell us everything. So back when we were talking about Henry and what kind of person we think Henry is, I decided that he's probably pretty generous because of the help that he gave Mary and her family. The author didn't say Henry was generous, but based on Henry's actions, I was able to make that inference. So let's look at this one and we'll practice. It says, what happened that made the people believe that Mary wasn't making her creatures up? How does this affect Mary? And let's use details and examples to support our answer. So why don't you go ahead and pause and try and answer this on your own. Okay, so thinking about what happened that made people believe that Mary wasn't making the creatures up. Okay, start with that. Okay, I hope you pause the video and you practice this on your own, because that's how you're going to get smarter. Say, you can't just listen to everything Miss Wager says all the time. You got to think on your own too. You got to do both. Please listen to me too. Oh, goodness. So here we go. What happened that made people believe Mary wasn't making her creatures up? Okay, I think we have that question down. I've said it a bunch. So let's see. Mary was furious when she heard what people were saying about the skeleton she had discovered. She knew fossils and she knew what she had found, but some people weren't convinced until a group of scientists had spoken out. The scientists had found parts of creatures that looked the same as the skeleton Mary had found. Those creatures were called plesiosaurs. The scientists knew fossils and they knew what they had found. Everyone believed them when they said Mary's plesiosaur was real and not made up. Okay, so right there, what happened? A group of scientists said, hey, we found that too. That's a real creature. That's a plesiosaur. So that's what happened to make people believe that she wasn't making things up. Let's go to the second question. How does this affect Mary? Okay, so let's look at the very beginning. It says Mary was furious when she heard what people were saying about the skeleton she discovered. So it had made her really mad that people weren't believing her. Okay, so she's getting really upset. But then what else happens? It says after they realize that this wasn't made up, okay, her name starts to be mentioned when people are asking about it. She was becoming famous for the fossil she found. Scientists sent letters to her and they asked her questions about her discoveries. Okay, so that text evidence is also showing us that what happened, well, Mary starts becoming really famous. Okay, she's getting interest from other scientists that want to talk to her now instead of her wanting to talk to scientists. Okay, and you see how I looked back in the text to support my answer? I didn't just make these things up on my own. I was showing you in the text exactly where I'm finding my answers. That is key with inferences. You take your own ideas, but you have to support them with text evidence. So for your reading response today, I want you to come up with 2 inferences about Mary. So that could be like what kind of person she is, what things does she like, okay? Just some of your ideas about Mary. Remember earlier when we talked about Henry and we said that he was generous, and I supported that with the detail that he created drawings to help for Mary's family to sell so that way they could survive. So my inference, if I had Henry in the center here, would be that he is generous. And my supporting detail would be Henry created drawings of Mary's fossils to sell. Okay, I want you to come up with 2 inferences about Mary. Okay, so the one inference will go here, and I want you to find a supporting detail in the text. So you may need to look back. You will need to look back at the text. And then your second inference will go here, and then the supporting detail goes on this bottom line. So you have 2 inferences, 2 things that you think about Mary, and then evidence from the text to explain why you think that. All right, so that is where I will leave you for today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and good luck with your reading response. I will see you later. Bye, guys.